welcome to How to Win the Lottery, Ohio Module, book number 3, Outside In by Doug Cooper. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I am Doug Cooper. Let's go. Interview.
Doug, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this book. But first, we got some Ohio facts about Put-in-Bay.
I'm not really Doug Cooper.
I will tell you,
Shreds Kavolka.
I reached out to Doug Cooper via his website, contact form, before we read the book.
Yeah.
Form did not complete. Website not good. Website broken. Could not talk to him.
Might be for the better.
I think so. So before we get to the book and why it might be for the better that we're not talking to Doug Cooper today, Ohio facts, because this is a book about a place called Put-in-Bay.
Yeah.
Which
I will say the brightest spot, maybe the brightest spot of the book to me, is that it exposed me to a culture that I had zero idea existed, which is like Jimmy Buffett style island culture
in the Midwest,
dead in the middle of Ohio.
So I have here 8 facts that I had pulled before, like basically when I started the book, when I was like Put-in-Bay, because you mentioned that to me via text.
Yeah. It's like, I have no idea that this existed.
So
I still kind of can't believe that it does exist, because I can't imagine, like, is Lake Erie, I've been to Lake Erie, but like, is this like Trump style boat people?
I don't know.
I have, do you know what I mean when I say
Yes.
Trump style boat people? Like our beautiful boaters, those guys? Yeah. Okay.
So here's 8 facts that are probably also in the book, because a lot of these were in the book, because this book is kind of like Wikipedia for Put-in-Bay. Number 1, it's nicknamed the Key West of the North.
To the point where when I was reading the book, part of me thought that they were in Key West.
Well, he wants to go to Key West real bad.
Yeah.
Put-in-Bay is known for its vibrant summer tourism scene with open-air bars, live music, and a laid-back island vibe that earns its comparisons to Key West, Florida.
I do not believe that an island in Lake Erie.
I want to go so bad.
We got to go.
Bachelor party?
Yeah, we got to go.
Number 2.
Yeah, maybe.
This is definitely in the book. It is the site of the Battle of Lake Erie in the War of 1812. The waters surrounding Put-in-Bay were the site of a major American naval victory in 1813, led by Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry. His famous quote, do you know his famous quote they mentioned in the book?
Yeah, I don't remember it. But
We have met the enemy, and they are ours.
yeah.
Number 3. It is home to Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial, definitely mentioned in the book. A towering 352-foot Doric column commemorates the Battle of Lake Erie and celebrates peace between the U.S., Canada, and Great Britain. It's one of the tallest monuments in the U.S. and offers stunning views,
I'm sure,
of Lake Erie and the islands.
Yeah.
Fact number 4, not in the book really, maybe mentioned briefly, but not a plot point. You can drive a golf cart. Most visitors get around not by car, but by golf cart, a signature part of the experience. Golf cart rentals are everywhere and make exploring the island fun and easy.
Well, he does a lot of bicycle riding too.
Yep.
So it makes it seem like the island is actually quite small.
Another thing not in the book, it has a massive underground cave.
Okay.
Crystal Cave.
It feels like that would have been in the book, and maybe he just missed it.
Crystal Cave boasts the world's largest known geode with crystals up to 18 inches long, discovered in 1897. It's a dazzling, otherworldly stop on any tour of the islands.
Oh, yeah. If this guy knew about that, he would have had someone on acid.
Cinch would have died in the cave.
Go into that cave
Yep.
and like, see a ghost or something.
Spoilers, Cinch dies.
Yeah.
Number 6, which we don't see, but we hear, it becomes a ghost town in winter. While summer weekends see thousands of tourists, Put-in-Bay's year-round population, you want to guess what their year-round population is?
So this is the off season.
Yeah.
118.
150.
Okay.
This says under 150, so maybe 118.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Many businesses close for the season, and residents rely on planes or ice roads when the ferry shuts down.
Yeah.
It's part of the Lake Erie Islands. Fact number 7, it sits on South Bass Island, part of a scenic archipelago that also includes Middle Bass and Kelly's Island, each with their own charm and ferry access.
Cool.
And the last one, what the book is all about. It's a hub for history, nature, and partying. It offers a rare blend of historical tourism, natural beauty, including trails and bird watching, and party culture, with everything from dive bars to tiki lounges, making it a Midwest summer hotspot.
Yeah. Was that 6 facts?
8 facts.
8 facts. 9 facts. Birthplace of Richard Nixon.
Put-in-Bay?
Yeah, it's not. I'm just kidding.
Feels like he would
Very,
be from
very
Put-in-Bay.
famously from California.
So this book begins with a kid ODing on oxy in a classroom. You're like, oh, this is going to be like a narcotics, like, the epidemic. And then it's like,
Yeah.
no, what if the teacher just like, fuck all this, I'm going to go do blow for a summer.
Yeah, it's an inciting incident that pretends to an emotional depth that it doesn't earn. The rest of the book does not reflect on that incident at all.
Despite the last like 10 pages really trying to like hammer that home.
Because ultimately you end up, okay, so it's a book that is kind of about like what happens when the party gets dark, right? Like that's kind of what it's about, right? Is that, can you sum it up better than that? That feels like what it's about.
I think it's that, but it's also what if Guy has the best summer of his life until it's not, which is also kind of that, but just like, what if this guy, this fucking nobody from St. Louis goes to island party time and just sleeps with women every night, does blow all summer and becomes the life of the party. That's kind of what the book is.
But it's very much like a traditional morality tale because it's saying you should actually feel bad about all that partying and drugs are for scumbags and you should not be having casual sex. When you do that, people die.
It's rare that I've wanted a main character to die as badly as I wanted Shep to die in this book.
Right. But the thing is that Shep is not going to die.
Nope. Someone
else is going to die so that Shep can learn his lesson and find himself, which is completely unearned.
Yep.
I don't even know what Shep's self is. Because you don't get the sense that from the beginning, you don't get the sense that he held any value in being a teacher or that he was any good at it.
No.
Or that he was particularly affected by the idea that a student died in his classroom. He seems more like put in bay, put out Shep, right? Like he feels like put out by the idea that a kid fucking died in his classroom rather than actually being, I am a high school teacher. I would be fucking devastated if a kid in my classroom died.
He's basically just like, man, the school doesn't let me help the kids. Fuck the kids and fuck the school. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. It's very, the way that he reacts is incredibly callous. And then he spends the rest of the book reacting incredibly callous to everyone around him while we're supposed to in some way think
he's cool.
This guy's cool or this guy's like, and he's not even like, he's a dork. Right? He doesn't even have like the James Dean, Dylan McKay darkness.
No.
Or whatever that like.
Is Dylan McKay from Beverly Hills 90210?
Yeah, it's Luke Perry in Beverly Hills 90210, who's an alcoholic rich kid. He's an alcoholic rich kid who like has to deal with his demons and his demons like infringe, his demons of partying infringe on his other like upstanding friends' good time. While he is a moral character, he is flawed because he has these vices, and these vices are always threatening to destroy things around him. Shep's vices do not actually threaten anything around him. All there is are nagging female characters saying like, all you want to do is drugs.
Who also want to sleep with him.
Who also want to, and there's like one part where he's like,
hold on. I you know, every time, I don't know if you do this. I don't know if you highlight things in Kindle, like when you read on Kindle, but like whenever you finish a book on Goodreads, because it's owned by Amazon, it says start a conversation, publish your highlights of the book. I never do that. I don't want that. I did for this book because I highlighted my favorite passages from this book.
Can I guess what it is? Is it the thing that you think that I was just going to say?
Well, there's one. Say one, and I have one that like if it's not that one, it's another one.
The part where Astrid is like, cocaine is your mistress.
Oh no,
like that part is insane.
I have one. I thought you were talking about Astrid steps off the bike and rests in the grass. She wears a baseball cap backward and a few blonde strands hanging down on each side of her face.
Right.
Does she ever not look amazing?
Yeah.
The first one I highlighted.
I changed my mind. I love this book.
The first one I highlighted, which I'm like, oh, okay, I know what this book is. I love sundresses. If I were a woman, I'd wear nothing else. No underwear, no bra, just the sundress. Piece of free-flowing cotton between the rest of the world and me.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to shit on sundresses. Sundresses rule.
Yeah, but I don't need to write a book
They're
about
great.
it. The responsibility. This is when Shep, before Shep becomes like party Shep. The responsibilities of my former life trigger my answer. Cocaine, count me out. Things are moving too fast. Drinking, the pot, and now this. I have to slow down.
Yeah.
Cocaine and alcohol are like hamburgers and french fries, Singe says. Pancakes and syrup, turkey and dressing.
This is terrible. It's just awful. I'm sorry, Doug. Because there's a guy like I don't know, Doug. It
I would give him more of a
feels
benefit
like
of the
a
doubt.
Googler guy. He feels like a guy that has a name alert. So Doug, I don't know what to say. It seems like a lot of people like this book on Goodreads. I admire that you did it. I think it's great that you gave life to this island of Put in Bay. I think he could have used a couple more drafts.
I would give him more of a benefit of the doubt if there weren't the Q&A at the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, this is just a thing that somebody wrote, like you wanted to, like, whatever. But the Q&A, the way that he describes his process.
I texted you insisting that you read the Q&A.
I have highlights for that too. But there's things about this where it's like, I don't know that anybody read this before it was published. He shakes the jar. He shakes the jar. $64.13. Pretty good for early in the season. The next sentence. A man like Caldwell can live a while on $62. You just said a 64. He can live a while on 62. There's no space between those two.
This is like, I read, I want to say that this is a Melissa Broder book, who is an author that I really, really love, actually. But there's a part in a Melissa Broder book where it says, "Oh God, she lisped," as he pulled her hair back. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that?
Mm-hmm. You've talked about that here before.
Like, get it together.
Mm-hmm. Buckle up your chin straps, kids. Cinch passes the plate to Astrid. Cocaine, alcohol, and new friends amount to more than a few hours because everyone will have fresh lies to tell. The first hour of the session consists of Cinch performing his best bits, from Jimmy Stewart to George Bush. Whenever he runs out of material, either Astrid...
That sounds like a nightmare. It sounds like someone doing... First of all, it sounds like someone doing Dana Carvey doing impressions. Like he's just doing Dana Carvey's impressions. Do you know anyone that is like a voice guy? Like there's like always doing voices.
Well, so this is not negative, but Mike, who I do, my friend Mike Manzi, who I do a lot of the podcasts with, like Elvis and Cage or whatever, he does a lot of voices, but he does them within the context of the show.
Yeah. It's
not like he just like walks up and goes, "Hey, see?" It's just like, no, it's not like, I don't know that in the real world.
Yeah.
But on the Elvis pod, for instance, he'll bust into Colonel Tom because Colonel Tom is part of the Elvis world. He's good at voices, but he's not annoying about it. He's not Cinch.
Yeah. I just like, I know that there are guys that are always doing voices, and it's just like, I just don't want, get it away from me.
There's also a staggering amount in the book, which is then referenced in the Q&A.
I love Mike, by the way. He's a great guy.
No, Mike's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a negative. Like, he's the closest I have to it. And like, if he was annoying, I would not have brought it up.
I find
I'd be
him very
like,
charming
I have a
and
guy.
funny. And
there's so much of the book devoted to describing, then playing the name game.
yeah.
And then in the Q&A, the interviewer, which I think is probably just Doug Cooper himself, asking, "Have you ever played the name game?" And then him giving a cheeky answer about like, a lot of this was drawn from real life.
They drew the name game from real life, as though the name game were some fucking insane like Squid Game style thing, and not just a very run of the mill party game.
Yeah, it's just you say a first name that starts the same letter as the last name, and then if you don't get it, you drink. And if someone does a one name, everyone drinks, and that's it. But he spends like a page describing the rules, and then a page and a half of them playing, and then they play it again later, and then he references in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Like it's the most creative, fun game.
Right. Probably is kind of fun to do.
But remember like a couple books ago, I think it was in the last module, we were talking about like describing chess or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it feels alien. Mm-hmm. This is the opposite of that.
Well, it's a little bit like in the instructions when he's describing slap, right? The game where you slap the hands like that. It's like he describes that in such incredible detail that you're just like, I don't it's kind of interesting, but like everyone knows what that is. Yeah. Like within 2 seconds of you saying what it is, that I don't know that you need to.
But I think like the bigger issue here is that all of the dialogue in this book, not all of the dialogue, but most of the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue in this book is not how people talk.
Yeah, it's not how it's how people have conversations in their head.
I use the opportunity to ask another question that's been bugging me about why Coke is measured in both grams and ounces. Cinch says, quote, "Not sure. It's a weird US/metric hybrid system for Coke. A kilo is equivalent to about 36 ounces, and things go down from there. A half a kilo is 18 ounces, and a quarter kilo or quarter bird equals 9 ounces. I usually stay within 1 to 2 ounce range, or 28 to 56 grams. Consumer levels begin after you get below the half ounce mark. A quarter ounce is 7 grams. An eighth or 8 ball is 3.5 grams. A 16th or teeter is anywhere between 1.5 or 1 3/4. From there, it's all metric: a gram, a half gram, even a quarter gram. End quote.
Yeah, it's Wikipedia for cocaine.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was in college and I wrote a screenplay that I didn't really want to write, but I took a class because I wanted to take a teacher, and I just did like a long stand-up. But he's just like, like this is not how like stand-up style jokes. I'm like, oh yeah, and like I just fixed it. But just like I told like a monologue, like an open mic, people like you wouldn't get through it. Like people would be heckling you or whatever. I'm like, oh right, yeah. I didn't think about it because I just like wrote a thing.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody ever read this.
Maybe not. I don't know who published it. Do you know who published it?
Ooh, I don't know. I will look it up.
Yeah.
Looking at the condos reminds me of Meadow. I'll probably never see her again. She's a cool girl, but then again, so is Dawn. So is Astrid, for that matter. What the hell am I looking for?
Oh, so the girls in the book: Meadow, Dawn, Haley, Astrid. Haley, early frontrunner for the person that you think is going to be the girl in the book that is his romantic interest,
But she just becomes a drunk.
and also kind of disappears and becomes completely unimportant. She's like at first kind of a jealous drunk, but then becomes someone who's just in the background, and then also becomes someone who is like, even like when he's like, oh, I'm staying here to find myself and to be a teacher, she's just like, you're so selfish, because he doesn't want to go to Key West and continue partying with them. It's weird. It doesn't like the character motivations outside of our main character don't make any sense at all either.
Well, there's a point where like Dawn blackmails him into maybe sleeping with her.
Yeah.
But also like that doesn't really come to fruition. There's also like the most confusing thing to me is that like his parents, who like really disapprove of him like abandoning his life and his career to like have a summer vacation or whatever, which I understand, but also like that as like narrative, like it makes sense. Like parents don't want you to give up, but like there's like pushback or whatever. And then they show up. You're like, oh shit. And then it's fine.
Yeah, nothing happens. Then they go home.
Yeah, he just like learns how to play guitar and just like seemingly plays guitar for a couple days. They're like, all right, I guess you seem good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the publisher. I haven't found it yet on Amazon, but Jerry Stahl and Colleen Hoover both have pull quotes for him.
Colleen Hoover is an interesting one. Jerry Stahl, I don't know where that guy's at in his career.
I have Mutant Happy Baby Pills, but I've not read that.
Yeah, he's got some. I mean, Permanent Midnight is a good book.
It was published by Greenleaf Book Group, which is a publisher and distributor dedicated to helping independent authors and small presses getting their work published.
That sounds a little bit like it might be self-published.
Well, there's a bunch of people. There's success stories. They have like, there's a bunch of people on here, but again, they're not names I know. There's a guy named Michael Jordan, who's a white guy with long white hair.
Yeah, sure. You know, that's the Michael Jordan I think of when you say Michael Jordan.
He's the Michael Jordan of literature.
Yeah.
I will say, okay, let's each say 3 things that are good about the book. Number one for both of us can be taught us about a place in the Midwest that we did not know existed.
Yeah. A culture, an entire culture in the Midwest that we didn't know existed.
I'm stealing a thing that we texted about. I think this book served a very important purpose between Omen Setter's Luck and what is probably going to be another downer of a book from Mark Lee, sort of parentheses complimentary, because like The Deluge was great and
a downer,
really depressed the hell out of me. And so going from Omen Setter's Luck, which is like difficult, stream of consciousness, whatever, right into Markley would be brutal.
Yeah.
This served a nice sort of palate cleanser in between. And number 3, I enjoyed sending Egg quotes that I loved from the book.
Yeah. I hear my like 3 since you took all the good ones.
We can share the same number 1.
Same number 1. Okay.
Put in Bay.
Number 2 made me horny.
Yeah. Yeah. Genuine question. On a scale of like, do you think he was writing it to be horny? And did it actually work in any regard?
I think it reads as wishful fulfillment fantasy. I don't think that it. What do you mean by does it work?
Like, did you ever read something and be like, oh, this is actually kind of hot? Like,
oh, have I ever?
No, in this book.
No. The sex is not sex in this book, with the exception of the 2 dudes sucking each other off, which lasts.
We need to talk about that.
Like more than all of the sex that he has with women in the book, which is like a pretty decent amount. Is happens off the page.
Yeah. So in the movie Me and Orson Welles, which we watched for Zack Attack,
Yeah.
they talk about how in that time, like in the 20s and 30s, in screenplays, they would quadruple space, like it would leave to the imagination.
Yeah.
And so we then use that to like reference sexual activity in like Zac Efron movies. Like they quadruple space. Like they never showed it. So here essentially quadruple space. It's just like, well, like she's there and I kissed her neck. And then like all of a sudden it's the next morning. It's like,
Yeah.
So number 2 made you horny.
Also, let's like to also talk a little bit about the extended scene where he puts on the girl's bra and then thinks it's like the funniest fucking thing in the world.
It also fits him.
And he like tells the fake story multiple times about he like
He then wears it to bed and then he like wakes up in it and somebody else finds him and she's like, what's that?
yeah, and then he tells the fake story about how like, oh, I met this girl and we bet and blah blah blah, and she said, it's very odd because it also doesn't do anything. None of the characters' actions in the text make you learn anything about the characters,
Well, I
which
feel
is
like-
really strange.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, obviously this podcast and just talking about stuff with you has made me a better reader, but I feel like it is really elucidated, like, big word, look at that,
Sure.
how there's no subtext at all
Yeah.
to anything. It's literally just what's on the page.
Yeah, I mean,
It's all plot, and there's no like, well, what is this about? It's like, well, what is about is what he said.
it's interesting because he refers to it as literary fiction, and then he goes further in the Q&A and refers to it as transgressive fiction, which, like, when I think of transgressive fiction is like B.R. Yeager and Kathy Acker.
Yes.
And like, even if you like the lightest version of transgressive fiction is like Bret Easton Ellis. And this book is not only not that, but its point of view on drugs and sex is downright like Reaganite.
Speaking of that, I also want to get your number 3. Number 2 is horny. Number 3 is still TBD.
Yeah.
Birch wants a bread bowl of bisque at the boardwalk to help soak up with alcohol.
Why are there so many bees, man? Why are there so many bees in that sentence?
The short trip in his van is like a ride in an elevator with a transvestite. My words are blatant attempts to conceal the true question hanging in the air.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Don't know.
What is that?
The key for our team is the presentation. Oh, right. This is my favorite. This is genuinely my favorite quote in the book.
Yeah.
So at the end of the season, they have, I don't remember what it's called because who gives a shit, but all the bars put together teams
I have a weird thing to say about this too.
in a competition.
Yeah.
And there's different things. There's like a keg rolling. There's like a shot presentation. There's like a talent show, whatever. And the whole point is just like to drink and get fucked up or whatever.
Yeah.
But each bar gets points for like first, second, third, whatever. So he's describing the final thing, which is the drink presentation. The bar comes up with a custom shot or custom drink or whatever. They present it. They do this whole presentation, whatever. And they just give the judges the drink. So he's describing the bartender from his bar and what he's good at. Quote, the key for our team is the presentation. This is my favorite text, favorite quote in the book. One of our bartenders is a true professional. He's tended for 15 years in a variety of locations around the country and even in the Caribbean for 3 winters. He can do all the tricks. Flip bottles in the air, catch them behind his back, whatever.
Whatever.
End of sentence.
Yeah. You got to read it like Liam Lynch, though.
Whatever.
Whatever. Talking to Zab in the bucket. He's like, whatever.
And I read that. I'm just like, did he lose interest? Or does he just not know how to describe flair bartending?
I think that I love about this is actually in 2 ways. This book, it's like he couldn't decide which. This book takes on the structure of an 80s movie in 2 ways. The first way is the big contest at the end.
Yep.
Right. Which is like, that's very much like One Crazy Summer, Revenge of the Nerds, like where all this stuff happens.
Yes.
And it hinges on this bet between him and Astrid where, like, if he wins, it's like winner has to do whatever or loser has to do whatever the winner says.
Which in this
Which
case,
just ends up being sex.
she blows him.
Which is like, it should be, it would have been funny if it was something else.
Literally anything else.
If she won and then she was just like, you have to,
like clean my apartment.
anything. Could be anything.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that it uses a lot, spoiler for a couple different movies here, like the movie Snack Shack or
which is a good movie, despite what the trailer makes it look like.
Yeah,
It's a really good movie.
But it also does a thing that I don't like, which is like it just throws a death in the middle
Yes.
of something to give emotional weight to something that otherwise has zero emotional weight. Like you end up just going like, well, why do we need this death in here to solve the problems of the protagonist,
Right.
to solve the problem, like the friendship and relationship problems of the person involved, to show that like life is actually bigger than the problems that we have, and at any moment someone that we love can be taken from us. Anyone can do that with any story at any time.
Yes.
It doesn't make narrative sense to, even though it's like telegraphed from the very beginning, because Sinch like fakes that in the,
Right.
he fakes his own death in the.
But like, there's something different where it's like the secret history. Like I always reference this, where like Donna Tartt, like on the first is like when Bunny like it's just like she's like on the like the first page, like a character's gonna die.
yeah, but that's fine. That's
and
not,
no, but like that's like it's. I'm not saying it's a bad. I'm saying that's a good
Yeah.
thing. It's just like she is setting up a thing that you know is going to happen, and it's still sort of shocking when it happens. Here, it's like, well, yeah, of course.
yeah, you knew it was going to happen because you knew that nobody was getting out of this party alive, or that someone would have to pay the price for all of their moral transgressions, all of which moral transgressions are very, very light. Nobody actually does anything bad in this book.
After work, I try to hook up with Birch or Haley, someone outside the crew, but either my buzz or my preoccupation with making another sale always lures me away. I can no longer deny it. We're drug dealers. What's the third thing you like about this book?
The third, well, I was going to say that it was structured like an 80s movie, I guess. But these are also criticisms that I have. I don't really like that. I think it's like weird that it's structured like an 80s movie.
What do you think of him at the end describing his suicide attempt, failing, and then being like, you know what? I'm going to live. And not only am I going to live, I'm going to be a teacher again.
Right. I don't think this guy should be a teacher. I'll say that. I think that he should be a drug dealer. That's how the book should end.
There is something remarkable to me. Like there's a quote, only water in front of me and stars above me, but at least I'm alive. Maybe I had to become who I'm not to understand who I'm not to understand who I truly am. I've been searching so desperately to find my identity, trying to fabricate the person I wanted to be. All I had to do was let go.
Uh-huh.
That's 95% of the book. Fight Club does that like a third, like when he like the Raymond K. Hessel thing.
Yeah.
It's just like that's what that is. But then the movie starts. Like it's just like that's he like knows. Oh, this is like a new thing. This is like him being like, no, the entire thing you just read is bullshit. Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do we read it then?
I don't get what the inciting incident has to do with the book.
No.
Other than that, it is the thing that gets him off of the path of being a teacher. But you don't need something so it would, you know, what would have been more interesting if he did something bad that got him fired.
Yeah.
And then he had to deal.
But I think that would sort of defeat. I think Cooper wants you to love this guy.
Yeah, right. Which is why it's not transgressive.
Be like, man, this guy got a bum deal. He deserves a fun summer.
Yeah, fucking kid died from OxyContin. It's that kid's mom's fault. It's like, how is he the victim in this? I guess like losing a job sucks. But like he gets another teaching job as soon as he wants one by the beginning of the next year after getting a severance
The way
package.
they describe it is just like, oh, you actually like want to do real work on this island? Of course you can be a teacher. Of course you can live in like real places. He's like, the housing opportunities that opened up to me when they knew that I wanted to stick around to be a teacher were remarkable.
Yeah.
And he's still like sleeping with Astrid now, like in a healthy relationship, maybe.
Yeah.
Even though she's going back to Ohio State.
Which it sounds like the amount of teachers they would need on that island is like 2.
Well, if the off-season population is under 150, what's the percentage that are like between 5 and 18?
Yeah.
Maybe there's 30 kids.
Yeah.
I think he says in here, like the 5 kids that come into my math class.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like 5 kids and like,
What is he getting paid?
well, he makes no
Is
money.
it a
He's like,
public
this
school?
is more than enough for me.
Yeah.
Like he's making like, again, maybe, although it does feel like if you're in the Key West of the North, making like $50 a day, like somebody gives him 60, he's like, whoa, that's too much money.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not enough money to live.
Right.
Like it almost feels like this should take place in the 80s or something, but like there's no indication that like it's not set in modern day, is there?
Are there any cell phones in it?
I don't know.
There are not. I don't remember them.
Is it like is it like a 70s or 80s thing?
I don't know. They're never
He never
texting.
establishes that,
They're
does
never
he?
like texting each other or anything like that. I'm not even sure when the book came out, to be honest.
2010s sometime?
Okay.
December 18th, 2013.
Okay, so it is not also, no, it's not the 80s because the kid dies from Oxycontin,
That's true.
right? But like it's a book with no cell phones.
But it also does feel like, not to his credit, you don't need a cell phone on Put in Bay.
Right, yeah.
Because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like 3 places, and it's like, if they're not here, they're there. If they're not there, they're in the barn.
Yeah.
And if they're not in any of those places, they don't want to be found.
Right. It sounds like fun. I would like to go there.
Would you... Look. We wouldn't do this.
Yes, we would.
He is asked in the Q&A, would you ever consider, telling what happens to Shep next? And he basically says, if people would want it, of course I would write it.
Whoa.
I'm not saying we should write it. I'm just saying if he wrote Conversations with Myself, Conversations with My Wife, Conversations with, because he originally, this was called Conversations with Myself.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I was thinking about doing a Conversations with My Wife and the Conversations with My Kids
Yeah.
as books 2 and 3 of Shep's story.
Yeah. The continuing adventures of Shep.
If he wrote those,
Yeah. Would I read them?
would we read them on here?
I could read them, but it would, Meg wouldn't. She would probably refuse. Producer Meg.
Yeah. What do you think about the title Outside In?
I don't know what it means. What does it mean?
He's on the outside, now he's on the inside.
What would you say this book is about?
Finding yourself?
Okay. Which is sure. Okay. So
Right?
yeah.
Very basic finding yourself.
Yeah. And he finds himself and he's like, I'm that guy that I was back then.
He's like,
nothing-
actually, a summer of like loose women and all the cocaine that I never paid for, by the way.
yeah, that's also insane.
That's actually not for me.
Yeah.
The way he describes it is there's like beautiful women who just like will have sex with this guy because they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Endless amounts of free booze and free coke. I don't want that. I want to teach math.
Well, yeah. Some of us have higher callings than chicks and coke, booze. Okay, here's what I'm saying to you. Who's in the movie?
Oh. How old is he? Like 25?
28.
28.
Which is also, by the way, a little too old for a lot of the stuff that happens in this book, especially some of the parent stuff. It's like if when I was 28, my parents started talking to me like his parents would talk to him, I would be like, fuck off.
I understand that because I feel like before he has this break and moves to Put in Bay, he's a very good boy who listens to his parents.
Yeah. But
And also he has like
28.
very overbearing parents.
Yeah.
You need somebody you need like a Jesse Eisenberg, but like a younger Jesse Eisenberg, like someone who, like, I don't think you need someone who can sell that they've never like lived life. And then you also kind of hate them.
Michael Cera.
Sure. Like you need a dork,
Yeah.
but like it would be tough to make this movie because like if you were to adapt this movie, would you want the audience to like Shep or not?
No, I wouldn't. I feel, I mean, I don't want to say that I could rewrite something, but like, I feel like there are directions that you can take this in that would make it more interesting. And one of the ways that you can take it in to make it more interesting is to give him actual flaws and actual problems and have him do actually immoral shit. Now, as I understand it, the writer of this book thinks that maybe dealing drugs and doing drugs and having sex is immoral. I don't really think any of those things are immoral. When a character does those things in a book, I'm not judgmental of that character. I would have him do bad stuff. And he would be a dick. But I would also try to establish that he actually cared about teaching. And I would try to establish that while he's on the island as well. I don't know how you do that, but you could, because it has to make sense for him to want to go back to the thing. And for him to go back to the thing, we have to understand that he loves the thing.
It doesn't seem like he loves anything.
Yeah. So you can do that too, but then that's an entirely different book, because then the book is about the dangers of nihilism, not the dangers of drugs and sex. Anyway, Clark Duke could do it. Michael Angiorano
Who's that?
could do it. He's the guy that is he's the kid in Haywire.
Oh,
The kid, the guy that plays young Neil in Scott Pilgrim versus the World could do
sure.
it.
Yep. You need a dork.
Yeah, you need someone that's not cool. Like, it couldn't be Kieran Culkin, because Kieran Culkin would do it, and you'd just be like, yeah, that guy does coke all the time, and is like you have to have someone that would be, whose life would change significantly with the introduction of multiple sexual partners and drugs.
Do you think Shep got laid before he moved to Put-in Bay?
No.
But he has like sex like every night when he gets there.
I know, which is another thing that doesn't make sense, because it's not like he has game.
Well, he literally in the book does not know how to take a bra off. She's like, no, the clasp was in the front. He's like, oh, right, yeah.
And he also doesn't at any point, like, there's not really any indication that he's good looking.
I don't know what he looks like at all. I don't know if he's ever described.
Yeah.
Even the way he describes like beautiful women, it's just like, so she wears like a baseball cap and she looks amazing.
Yeah, when she takes off her glasses, she's beautiful.
Yeah. I was looking on Amazon, and I know this is like confirmation bias, because like people who write reviews on Amazon are like,
Cranky.
you get what you get. No, you just get what you get. Like, it's people, but everybody who like, I was looking at the 1-star reviews, and they're all people like couldn't get into it, or too much foul language. But one
Too much foul language.
one person just says subject the title of the review, dumb book. This is from George Zeck, published May 6th, 2015. I bought this book from BookBub because it takes place in Put-in Bay. That was the only redeeming quality. I'm not into drugs, so I couldn't relate to the hedonistic activities of the book. My advice, skip it.
Okay, George Zeck, reach out.
But overall, good reviews.
Yeah.
The AI-generated summary is like, people like this book, the good characters. One person said they laughed out loud. The most helpful review, quote-unquote helpful review, is a 5-star rave.
I can't imagine what part someone laughed out loud at.
There's a chance I laughed out loud, but not intentionally. Like, not by design.
Yeah.
I don't think I did anyway, but I might have, but not, not anything I should have laughed out loud at.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let's read Meg's email.
It's a very long email. If you want to write in about this or any other book, lottery@cageclub.me. Email it in. We'll read about it on the next episode. Or whenever we get it. It won't be the next episode because...
Yeah, who knows?
We'll read it when we get it.
Yeah.
Meg's reaction to Outside In. This book, for lack of a better term, what word do you think she uses? One word.
Oh, one word. Sucks.
Stunk.
Okay.
Felt like I was reading something from an undergrad workshop. All of my notes that I made for this book are like critiques that I would make if Doug Cooper were one of my classmates. It's not that the book feels unfinished, but it feels like it should have gone through at least 2 more rounds of edits.
Yeah.
All 3 of us, you, me, and producer Meg, all worked at a writing center.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Brad Shepard's journey didn't make sense to me, she writes.
Funny that the guy's name is Brad, too. Like a guy named Doug writing a book about a guy named Brad. Yeah.
Brad beat Doug up in the 80s.
For sure.
He started and ended as a selfish guy who doesn't think about other people. It literally starts out with a child dying in his classroom and him being pissed that the school wants to put him on paid leave while they investigate. That seems incredibly normal and fine to me. Of course there should be an investigation. Also totally unbelievable that he would get, quote, paid out as an untenured teacher. If this happened, he would just not be asked back. He's just constantly the center of his own world, and we as readers were robbed of any scenes where he wasn't the center. Skipping the funeral services for Cinch was the wrong move. We immediately jumped into, what does this mean for me? Instead of, my friend is dead, maybe I'm being selfish.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Not even reconciliation call with his parents afterwards. And then for Brad to just be a teacher again at the end felt weird and unearned. What about his journey on the island pushed him to go right back to what he was doing in the first place?
Yeah, and did they call his last job to be like, what's the deal with this guy? And they're like, well, kid died in his classroom.
And we paid him out.
And we paid him to not come back.
And like, cool. None of maybe Put-in Bay is just desperate for teachers.
Well, I can see that, especially if they're not paying anything.
None of the friendships felt real to me, mainly because the dialogue just didn't work for me ever. And also, there's a group of people who Brad moved his life to be around, and they have 3 scenes together, maybe? In addition, none of the female characters felt real either. Dawn says, quote, "No, I don't want to forget it," she says, not letting me off the hook so easily. "Our time together was wonderful. Don't get the wrong idea about me. Before last night, I've never had sex with someone I just met like that. I know I have changes to make. Granted, you figure into the whole situation, but I'm making those changes for me. You just provided a push. You made me feel special again and showed me there's more to life than what I was settling for."
Right. All the women, like when he does transgress against any moral boundaries, the women pretty immediately forgive him and say, "It's not you. We all agreed that we would just be friends." And
I'm divorcing my husband, or
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with my fiance. I'm sorry that I had sex. I'm a dirty whore.
Yeah.
You're a good guy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
She says, no, number one, no one speaks like that in general. And number two, the sex scene between them is like a half a page. That's not, quote, break up with your fiance quality sex.
Oh, well, all right. What do you want? Like, do you really want?
They describe, if he described that sex scene the way that he described the gay blowjob.
Is this guy's name Doug Cooper?
Yeah.
Is that the name of Dougie in the
I
Return?
said to Egg, I was just like, this is very Twin Peaks coded because like Agent Cooper plays Dougie for most of it.
Yeah.
She didn't respond to this, so I don't think she's seen that, but yeah. Uh-huh.
Dougie Cooper. I didn't even. Yeah.
Coffee.
This book is so much better if you pictured Kyle MacLachlan. Kyle MacLachlan could have done this role in the 80s.
Sure.
He would have fucking nailed it, by the way.
If you pictured Shep as Dougie with the lime green oversized blazer on,
like just being Dougie, and then like people also like, because there's a really funny scene in The Return when Dougie's like at the doctor, and then Naomi Watts is like seeing him, and he's got like a really good body, and she's just like, oh, but like no one would ever be turned on by Dougie, but like now that he's shirtless, she's like,
well, before he became Dougie, we don't know like what old Dougie looked like. He was just like a fat piece of shit.
yeah.
But now he's Coop.
And
I can't wait. We're slowly rewatching Twin Peaks. Like we put it on pause, but like because we're in the middle of season 2, which is never ending.
Yeah.
But I want to get to The Return because I'm like, there's a lot of like weird, good stuff in
The
there.
Return is a lot better than the. Yeah, but thinking of this guy as Dougie Cooper has maybe saved this entire book.
I thought that early on, and I forgot it, and I wish I didn't forget it because it would have been really good.
Yeah.
Also, Dawn does a heel turn into a one-dimensional villain that doesn't make sense. She kisses Brad in the bar where Astrid is because it's also some sort of pissing contest where Dawn wants to make Astrid jealous, ? Then invites the guy Mize, who she slept with, to make Brad jealous. Then after Mize punches Brad in the face, she says, "My work here is done." I don't think we ever see her again.
It's funny when people refer to women as having pissing contests to me.
I mean, they can.
Yeah, but I feel like pissing contests it seems like such a phallic, like who can.
It's not like whipping your dick out. It's just like.
Yeah. It's like who can squat.
And then there's Astrid. Egg writes, she reminded me of the cool girl critique in Gone Girl.
Yeah.
The fact that she still slept with Brad after his, quote, double header and being an all-around scumbag didn't make sense to me. But even so, even if all the weird flat characterizations are on purpose and something that the author is doing on purpose for whatever reason, doesn't excuse the dialogue from being so bad. After the scene where Brad gets punched in the bar, Astrid says, quote, "I didn't leave the boathouse because you were with her. I left because I'm sick of watching you be a coward. There's just not enough room for me in your life because cocaine is your mistress." She's there.
Yes.
She's there when you need her, and she makes you feel bigger than life.
Yeah.
Why would you want anything else? You don't have to worry about her hurting you or about you disappointing her, and you can share her with your friends without jealousy or guilt. End quote.
This
Then
is
Meg in all capital letters. What does being a coward have to do with being addicted to coke? I really think that if the characters spoke like human beings, not like characters in a morality play, this book could have been something good.
Also, like everything she just said about coke is like, that is kind of why people do drugs, right? Because like,
yeah, you're sad. You aren't sad when you're on drugs.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with being a coward. It just has to do with like, this makes the world feel better.
Yeah, it makes the world tolerable.
I guess that's what it is. It's like you're a coward because you can't face the world as it is. And you can't face the judgments of the world. But it's like, I don't know. It's very much like something that a high schooler would yell at her boyfriend because the boyfriend like smoked pot.
Or like once. In an after school special that you would watch in health class in high school.
Yeah. And it's made so much funnier by the fact that he does nothing to regain her trust or her love. He doesn't do anything
No.
to regain that.
No.
You could say that he sobers up, but he actually doesn't, because during the thing, after she's forgiven him and they and like at the contest and they make the bet, right? He does coke so that he can go on stage and perform.
And he's like, oh, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah, and it's like the reason why you wish you didn't do that should be because you just made things right with Astrid, who is upset with you being a cocaine addict.
Mm-hmm.
If he even is a cocaine addict, this is what is he doing cocaine for, like a month?
It feels like one season, so maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the guy had a weird summer. It's not like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too cavalier about drug use, but I don't feel like I am.
I think you know more about drugs than Doug Cooper does.
Because if you compare this book to something like Less Than Zero, which I think is a good comparison because what Meg was talking about, like Less Than Zero does have flat characters on purpose, right? But the thing that saves it is that the dialogue is really funny.
Yeah.
And their interactions are commentaries on how flat and
This is also coming from someone who was in that scene.
yeah, exactly. It's like that's a very lived in nihilistic sex, drugs, and rock and roll version of this. Whereas this is like some fucking dork at a cheeseburger in paradise watching island life through binoculars and going like, gee whiz.
It does feel like Shep said gee whiz a lot in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Egg writes, the book's also homophobic. It felt like the book was trying to say that Brad's, quote, rock bottom was getting a blowjob from Randy. But number one, more time was spent on this scene than any other sex scenes. And number two, the author, in my opinion, didn't do a good job of writing Brad as high. So it didn't feel like Brad was, quote, under the influence.
Yeah.
Just felt like he was a horny guy. But also it felt weird that there was no, quote, fallout afterwards. Not one scene where Randy was there again.
I think, yeah, Randy just is gone after that, right? He never comes
He
back.
sucks a mean dick.
He never comes back.
All in all, Egg writes, this is one of the books that we can read, and that's the nicest thing I can say about it.
Yeah, and the nicest thing, it sounds like, was the entirety of this book a vehicle for Doug Cooper to say that women give toothy blowjobs, just get one from the boys.
Mm-hmm. Egg did say submission for the outro credit song because she,
Yeah, she doesn't know our problems, our troubles.
she's not, the island life is not for her.
Yeah.
She recommends the song Serious Drug by Wild Cookie.
I never heard of either of those. I was going to say it should be that fucking song from Ruby Tuesdays or whatever that goes, hot, 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 with the steel drums.
Oh, by by Buster Poindexter.
Yeah.
I'm feeling hot, hot, hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep reading Doug Cooper's books, man.
A funny thing is he talks about his next book in the Q&A.
I think he published a second book.
Is it the book about like 5 poker friends like who get together to do the ultimate heist?
Sounds like a great book.
Well, that's what I just said right now is the description of the novel that Chevy Chase is writing in the movie Funny Farm.
Oh, no.
5 poker friends get together to commit the ultimate heist.
So he has 3 other books on Amazon.
Yeah.
The one I think you're talking about is The Investment Club.
That is the one I'm talking about because that's the one he talks
Came
about.
out in 2016. 40 million people visit Vegas every year, but most never get past the Strip. What about the people who live there? What brought them there? What keeps them there?
I would read that, yeah.
Told from the perspective of a seasoned blackjack dealer, The Investment Club tells the stories of self-destructive dwarf entrepreneur and
Dwarf?
of a self-destructive dwarf entrepreneur, a
Oh my God.
drug-addicted musical performer turned stripper, a retired widowed New Jersey policeman, a bereaved divorced female sportscaster, and a card-counting former Catholic priest before and after their fateful meeting at the El Cortez Casino in downtown Vegas. As the 5 learn the greatest return comes from investing in one another,
Yeah.
their lives stabilize and take on new positive directions.
Right.
But their love and support for each other can take them only so far before they must determine the meaning and value of their own lives.
Well, I'll say first of all, I think he probably used a Dungeons and Dragons character generation sheet to come up with those descriptions of
It just reminded me of that Mr. Sketch Show or Mr. Show sketch. Jesus.
Mr. Sketch Show.
Mr. Sketch Show. The Mr. Show sketch where they're on a subway and it's the 5 voices. It's like the crack addict, the homeless woman, the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, these are just like 5 wild stereotypes.
Yeah, or the state sketch, the Jew, the Italian, and the redhead gay. How much do you also want to bet that this book, The Investment Club, includes prose such as the following? Blackjack is a casino banking game. It is the most widely played casino banking game in the world. It uses decks of 52 cards and descends from a global family of casino banking games known as 21. This family of card games also includes the European games 20 et un and Pontoon, and the Russian game Ochko.
What's that from? Wiki?
You know it. You know it's from Wiki.
He also wrote a book called Focus Lost. The line between passion and obsession runs through us all. Levi Combs never planned to rocket to stardom. Ava Flores knew he would the moment she saw him. Gabe Adams didn't want anything to do with celebrities.
Gabe Adams?
Gabe Adams.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But after Gabe's sister sells his photos of Levi with a young starlet to a tabloid website, their lives become intertwined forever, bound by rage and retribution.
Yeah.
Blending the nuance and insight of literary fiction with the big screen magic of the Hollywood thriller, Focus Lost whisks readers into a world of temptation, indulgence, and revenge, daring them to take a bite of this forbidden fruit.
I wonder what this guy thinks literary fiction is. Like,
Yeah.
how would he describe literary fiction? Because it's not, I don't think it is what he thinks it is.
I forgot another thing I knew about this guy that Egg told me.
Yeah.
He also wrote a kid's book called The Snail and the Butterfly. Do you know his alter ego, his alias, when he writes kids' books?
No.
Guy named Doug Cooper. What do you think his kid's name is?
Cooper Douglas.
Dougie Coop.
Dougie Coop.
Attention mushroom hunters and aspiring aviators of all ages. Have you ever wanted to do something great? Something no one else believed you could do? Well, here's your chance to learn how. Meet a little snail who wanted to fly in an old butterfly, blah, blah. It's just like, kid stuff. With words by award-winning author Doug Cooper, a.k.a. Dougie Coop, and illustrations by acclaimed Australian artist C.J. the Kid, the rhythmic verse and playful style reminds us all we can achieve the impossible as long as we believe, trust, and persevere. I feel like his kid's book might be good.
Yeah, God bless him. And no shade to Doug Cooper. We spend a lot of time talking a little bit of smack here, but I'm sure he's a nice enough guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fix that website, man.
Just keep reading.
Yeah, that's twice you hit us with the keep reading.
But then I had to read his bios. I said keep reading Doug Cooper's books, and then Dougie Coop's books, and then keep reading.
Yeah. Right. Today's crime is
Cocaine.
cocaine. Today's crime is cocaine.